Okay, so set up and soar this evening, confidence on, doubt off, let's go. So set up and soar is where we reset your mindset, we realign your focus, and we get you moving again. And this evening, we are going to be getting you moving with your social media because today we are talking about hooks, okay? Social media hooks. Now, let me ask you something. Interaction is starting early today. Let me ask you something. Have you ever posted something online and you know within yourself, like this thing it's crisp, it's key, it's amazing. You know how good it is. You know, you've shown up on your social media, you've put thought into it, you've felt proud of it, and then silence. There's like crickets, low views, no engagement, or barely any engagement. Drop a yes in the chat if you've had that feeling. And I'm seeing those radio silence. Let me tell you something. It's not because what you're putting out there isn't good. It's not because you're being inconsistent. It's because whatever you put out there hasn't stopped people from scrolling. Okay? And this is the truth. And this is what you probably don't want to hear. Your content isn't bad. Well, you want to hear that your content isn't bad, actually. Your content isn't bad. It's just not being seen. And it's not that you don't have confidence. This isn't a confidence issue. It's a hook issue. It's a hook issue. Okay? So before we go any further, let me just introduce myself to anyone that doesn't know me. My name is Michelle. I'm an identity mentor. I'm a speaker, and I'm also a business coach. I help people to discover who they really are so that they can move authentically and make money. Okay, I am here to motivate you tonight. So you can choose to pay attention for the next 30 minutes or so. That is, of course, your choice. I recommend that you do pay attention. And if you can, minimize distractions and listen with an open mind. And if you are anything like me, you're going to want to grab a pen and some paper because you are going to want to take notes. So one more time before we kick it off, confidence on, doubt off, let's go. So most people are losing in the social media game in the first 3 seconds. And I'm going to say this clearly because we all blame something else. The reason we are losing, it's not because of the algorithm. It's not your niche. Your niche isn't the problem. And listen, you are not shadow banned, okay? These are all excuses that people use when they're not being viewed. The issue here is you are not interrupting the scroll. But tonight, we're going to fix that, okay? Because once you understand how viral hooks actually work, you're going to have a shift, okay? You're going to stop overthinking. You're going to stop rambling. You're going to stop posting and hoping for the best and crossing your fingers. And you're going to start posting with intention, okay? And the first thing I want you guys to do tonight, take your pens and write this down. Write this down. Viral content isn't about being louder. It's about being clearer. I'm going to say that again. Viral content isn't about being louder. It's about being clearer. Let me see if I can copy that into the chat so that you can copy that. Hold on. Let's see if it will allow me to copy that. Yes, there you go. Okay, so this session tonight, it's not about gimmicks, okay? I'm not gonna say to you by the end of the session, you need to be dancing and pointing on camera, okay? Or I'm not gonna say to you that you need to be somebody that you're not. That is not where we're going with this session tonight. We're gonna be talking about facts, okay? So what is a hook? Okay, let's clear something up first. What is a hook? Because this is where most people get it wrong. You see, usually when you hear the word hook, you're thinking maybe a catchy sentence or a clever caption or maybe a trending sound or a particular type of intro. That is not a hook, okay? That is not a hook. A hook is not what you say first. A hook is what they feel first. Let me explain that again, because this is really important. A hook is not a sentence. A hook is a reaction. You see, when in the first few seconds when they see your video, if nothing happens emotionally or mentally, you've already lost that person. You've got 3 seconds to capture their attention. We have the attention span of goldfish, right? So it doesn't matter how valuable the rest of your content is, if you cannot catch them in that first few seconds, it's done. Okay, so this is really the simplest definition, and I want you to remember this. I want you to remember this. A hook is a pattern interrupt that makes someone stop scrolling and they think to themselves, hold on, this is for me. Drop a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. So with a hook, this is something that's going to make people stop in their tracks because they need to see what's coming next. And I'm seeing those ones coming through. Not as fast as I thought they would have come through. So are we still a little bit lost? Are we still a little bit lost? So what a hook really has to do, a hook has to really grab somebody's attention. Okay, they're coming through a bit fast now. A hook really needs to grab somebody's attention so that they want to see. It invokes curiosity in them so that they can see the rest of your video. And I'm now seeing those ones coming through faster. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So let's talk about what hooks are not, because I see these types of hooks all the time. This is what a hook is not. Hey guys, welcome back to my page. Listen, that is very 2012. Okay, we don't do that no more. We don't do that. Hey guys, no, we don't do that. Today, I'm going to talk about snooze fest. Nope. Another one that I see a lot. So a lot of people ask me, now nobody asks you anything, and we all know that. So these are not hooks that we're using. Okay, these are not hooks. These are introductions, and nobody asks for an introduction. Okay, online, especially with a cold market, you don't earn the right to explain anything. You earn the right to be listened to. So drop a 2 in the chat if you want to be listened to when you're posting, right? And I'm seeing those 2s coming through fast and furious. Cheryl, Debbie, Lisa, Karen, Caroline, Nigel, Mohammed, Shane, Pamela. I saw those 2s coming in there quickly. Thank you very much. Right. So what do hooks actually do? What do hooks actually do? A real hook does one of 3 things immediately. And I want you to think of this as your hook trinity. Okay, so when you're posting your hook, if it doesn't hit one of these things, it's not going to land with your audience. So the first thing is pain, right? Your hook names a problem that your avatar is already living with. For instance, posting consistently but not growing. That's a hook. That's a pain that people can relate to. You're doing everything right, but you're still invisible. That's a pain that a lot of us on this call are relating to, right? So this works because people don't scroll past their own struggles. They're struggling with this, they recognize themselves in this problem, they're going to stop to see what the solution is. So that's the first one, pain. The second one is curiosity, because curiosity opens a loop in the brain and the brain wants the loop closed. How many of us go to sleep at night sometimes thinking about something that we had no solution to, and it just keeps looping in our brain constantly over and over and over and over? Drop a 3 in the chat if that's ever happened to you, because your brain wants to close the open loops, right? So curiosity. This is why your content isn't landing. I'm seeing those 3s coming in. Exactly. This is why your content isn't landing. It opens a loop. Why isn't my content landing? Why isn't it landing? Why isn't it landing? Now you're curious why it's not landing. So you're going to keep watching, right? Another one is, I didn't believe this until I tested it. What didn't you believe? What did you test? Curiosity. Curiosity is there again, right? Because curiosity buys you seconds, right? Curiosity buys you seconds, and seconds buy you attention. So every extra second that you can grab someone's attention, every extra second they're with you, you have a greater possibility of them getting to the point of your video. So creating that curiosity does that. And the third thing I'm going to talk about is identity. So your hook has to call out who they are currently or who they are becoming. So for instance, This is the woman who is quietly building. So if you know that you're female and you're quietly building, like, okay, this is for me, all of a sudden I want to watch. If you're done playing small online, whatever, all of a sudden, yeah, that's me. I'm done playing small. I'm ready for something bigger. Okay. So these are powerful. This type of hook is powerful, this type of identity hook, because people will always stop for themselves, because inherently people always want to know what's in it for me. So if you're hitting on their identity of who they are or who they're becoming, they need to see what the end is. So drop a what number 4 in the chat if that makes sense. If you now know that you need to be hitting a pain, a curiosity, or identity in order to be hooking people into your content. Amazing. And a mistake that I see over and over and over again. When people are posting, they try to be clever instead of clear. Okay? They sometimes soften their message, or they sometimes over-explain. Okay, but always remember this. A confused mind doesn't buy. A confused mind doesn't stay on the page. A confused mind continues to scroll. So always remember this. Clarity wins every single time. So no matter what you're doing, always be clear. And let me give you this line. And again, write it down, or actually, let me see if I can copy it. There you go. Write this one down for me or copy it in from the chat. If your hook can apply to everybody, it connects with no one. Right? If you're speaking to too many people, nobody hears you. A hook isn't about sounding nice, it's about sounding true to your avatar. So always remember that. If your hook can apply to everyone, it connects to no one. Drop a 5 in the chat if you understand that. You need to be focused on your avatar, and I'm seeing those 5s coming through. Amazing. Now, there are 7 viral hook types. Okay, 7, type of 7 in the chat. 7 viral hook types. Amazing. I'm seeing those 7s coming through. You guys are paying attention. So these hook types here on the screen, they're not trends. They're not platform specific. They work because they're human. Okay. Now, before I start to go through all of these, I need to say this clearly. You don't need to use all 7 at the same time, okay? Because that will just cause confusion. You don't need to use all 7. You just need one hook used well, okay? So drop a 1 in the chat if you want me to go through all 7 of these hooks right now. Drop a 1 in the chat if you want me to go through all 7 of these hooks right now. And I am seeing the ones coming through fast and furious. Now, I told you this at the beginning. We only have half an hour, and you guys know this. We don't have time to go through all 7, do we? No. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through 3 of them right now, and I'm going to give you a link at the end of the session so that you can get access to all 7 of them. Does that sound good, team? Yes or no? Let me know. Does that sound good? I'll give you a link at the end of the session. Yes, and I'm seeing those yeses coming through. Amazing. Right, so let's get started. Okay. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the permission hook. Okay, the permission hook. So the permission hook releases internal pressure. What it does is it gives the viewer emotional permission to stop forcing something that no longer fits. So an example of that would be, you're allowed to change direction. Yeah, you're allowed to change direction. So you're giving somebody permission to change whatever it is that they're doing. Okay, so this hook type works especially when your audience feels as if they're in a box, right? They might be feeling overwhelmed, or they might be stuck in overfunctioning. So permission hooks do not push. What they do is they create relief, and relief keeps people listening for more. So that's the first one, the permission hook. The next one we're going to talk about is the truth bomb hook. Okay, so the truth bomb hook delivers a direct, uncomfortable insight. It says the thing people already suspect, but they've not articulated. So again, this is something like how I started off this session. You're not shadow banned, right? There's a truth bomb. Your content isn't bad. It's just not stopping the scroll. Or your content isn't bad. It's just forgettable, right? So these hooks work because discomfort increases retention, okay? However, remember this, truth bombs require authority. So if you're going to use this type of hook, your delivery has to be calm, it has to be grounded, and it has to be clear. Because dropping a truth bomb without having confidence, it sounds as if you're criticizing, and nobody wants to be criticized, okay? So you could alienate your audience by dropping a truth bomb if you don't have the confidence to drop it, okay? But truth, let me think about that again. Truth with confidence, okay, sounds like leadership. So always remember that. If you don't have the confidence to drop a truth bomb, don't drop it until you have that confidence, until you have that authority to drop this truth bomb, because you know that it's a truth basically. Okay. And the last one I'm going to talk about tonight is the micro story. And I have to talk about this one because I don't know how many times I've told you guys to get online and tell your story. Okay, because the micro story hook begins with a moment, and it's going to be a moment that people can resonate with. And it's not a long explanation, it's not a backstory, it's just a human emotion, it's a human entry point, right? And you can start this one with something like, I almost didn't post this, I almost didn't tell this story. Or something like, last year, this didn't work for me. It's something that just hooks it because it's the beginning of a story, and then everybody wants to hear the rest of the story. Okay, because micro stories work because they lower resistance. They feel human, they feel relatable, they start to build trust between you and your audience. So if your audience doesn't know you yet, this is really a good hook to use to build that authority with them, to build that trust with them, to build that connection, and for them to get to know you a bit better. So drop a 2 in the chat, drop a 2 in the chat if these hooks are something that you can use. If you think that these hooks are something that you can use, and I can see those twos coming through. Absolutely amazing. So there is an important rule. There is an important rule that you must follow when you're using hooks. Do not stack them. That is really important. Do not stack the hooks. One hook, one focus. I'm going to say that again. One hook, one focus, okay? Trying to be too emotional, trying to be too clever, too educational, disruptive, and doing that all at the same time, what it does is it reduces clarity, right? And again, a confused mind doesn't stop scrolling. A confused mind doesn't click the link. A confused mind doesn't buy. A confused mind doesn't sign up for your newsletter. It doesn't do what you need it to do, okay? Because they're confused. So clarity always outperforms complexity. Keep it simple. Always remember that. Keep it simple, okay? And when it comes to hooks as well, there's an important principle to remember. If it feels safe, it's probably not going to spread. Sometimes you need a little bit of controversy in order to spread, okay? Viral hooks will always create some sort of tension. Viral hooks will bring you out of your comfort zone. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to use some of these hooks correctly so that your content not only stops the scroll, but builds trust, authority, and long-term engagement. So I'm going to talk to you now about the hook system. Okay, because we've taken a look at the different types of hooks. So let's talk about how to use them properly. Now, hooks don't fail, structure fails. And if there's anything that we know in this group as a whole, we understand systems, right? If there's one thing we take away from this group, from this academy, systems, right? So hooks don't fail, structure fails. A strong hook without support creates attention but not trust. And viral views, I can't talk now, without trust do not build a brand. And so this is where I'm going to start to talk about the hook system, because the hook system is really a simple, repeatable structure that turns attention into credibility and credibility into action. So once you understand this, you're going to stop guessing what to say and start showing up with clarity, because again, clarity brings sales, right? So every high performing piece of content is always going to follow the same sequence. It's always going to be on the same system, right? And that system is hook, hold, deliver, direct. I couldn't come up with anything fancier than that. I'm so sorry. It doesn't spell anything. Hook, hold, deliver, direct. Now, it's not all at once. It's not rushed, and it's all going to be in order. So I'm going to break down each part for you, right? So the first part is hook. So this is what we've been talking about all evening, the hook. So the hook is the pattern interrupt, right? And the hook, the only job of the hook is to stop the scroll. Drop a one in the chat if that makes sense. The only job of your hook is to stop the scroll. It's what they get in that first 3 seconds that creates that curiosity, that hits that pain, that hits that identity, right? This is where you use one of those 7 hook types that we've just talked about. So nothing else happens until the hook works. And if they do not pause here, if this hook doesn't get them, the rest of your content doesn't matter. It could be the most amazing thing. This is why your hook has to be strong. Your hook has to come out fighting every single time, okay? So that's number 1. That's the first thing, the hook. Part 2 is the hold. So the hold comes in immediately after the hook, and this is where most people lose their audience. The purpose of the hold is reassurance, right? So it tells your viewer that they're in the right place and that watching your video, watching your reel, watching your YouTube, whatever, is going to be worth their time, okay? So it really tells the viewer that they're in the right place. And you can use simple phrases like, let me explain why, or here's what most people miss, okay? Because the hold lowers resistance and it buys you seconds, okay? And I'm seeing what's really trending right now when it comes to the hold is I'm seeing people use AI, a lot of fancy AI stuff. So I don't know if you've seen this video, but there's a guy that he like puts fire up his arm, an AI video, and he shows you, he's going to teach you how to put fire up your arm. That really holds your attention. Or people that like walk behind a pole in one outfit and walk from behind the pole in another outfit. Again, things like that, silly little things like that. It's just that few seconds it takes. It captures your attention and it makes you stay. Okay, so drop a 2 in the chat if that makes sense. We have to not just hook them, we need to hold them. And I'm seeing those 2s come through. Amazing, amazing. Pamela, Lucy, Christine, Fazana, Miata, Henry. I'm seeing those 2s coming through. Loving it. So part 3 now. So we've done hook, hold, deliver. Okay, the deliver is where you earn trust. This is where you share the insight, the lesson, and the promised hook. So the biggest mistake here, I think, would be over-delivering. Okay, so more information does not equal more impact. Always remember that. We're going to come back to this word again, clarity. Clarity beats volume every time. And this is where your authority shows not by how much you say, but by how precisely you could say it. So it's not about using a lot of words. It's about saying it clearly so people can understand what you're saying and what your message is. So drop a 3 in the chat if you understand the deliver section. Drop a 3 in the chat. So right, so we're going to hook them, we're going to hold them, and we're going to deliver what we promise. And I am seeing those 3s come through. And the last D is direct. So hook, hold, deliver, direct. And we all know what the direct is. The direct is where you tell your viewer what to do next. This is your call to action. Okay, this is your call to action. So this part is what a lot of us skip. And the reason why we skip this part is because we don't want to be pushy. We don't want to seem too salesy. right? But don't think of it as being pushy. It's not pushy. Direction is not pressure. Telling somebody what to do is leadership. Okay. So whether it's save this or try this today or follow for more, every piece of content needs to have a clear step. People need to know what to do next. Okay. Because without giving them that direction, the attention leaks and it goes elsewhere. Okay. So think of it this way. Hooks earn attention, delivery earns trust. I'm going to say that again. Hooks earn attention, but delivery earns trust. So using the hook system, when you use the hook system, your content is going to stop chasing attention and start building authority. So drop a 4 in the chat for me. Drop a 4 in the chat if this is all coming together for you. If this is all coming together for you. Debbie, I'm going to take questions at the end, my lovely. I'll take questions at the end. And I am seeing those 4s coming through. So, oh, I did make it in half an hour. Wow, that's absolutely amazing. So I'm going to end this session tonight with a quote because I always end with a quote. Clarity stops the scroll. Structure builds the trust. So remember that. Keep everything clear. Clarity stops the scroll because people don't pause for noise. They pause when they recognize themselves, when they recognize their problem, or when you speak a truth that they can't ignore. That is what stops the scroll. But structure builds the trust because once the attention is captured, how you guide them determines whether they stay, whether they believe you, and whether they take action. So clarity stops the scroll and structure builds the trust. Okay, always remember that. I think most of you here are part of the school group, but in case you're not, of course, I have my school group, the Elevation Room. This is where I put all the replays of the sessions and any new stuff that's coming up. Any PDFs I have, anything will be in the Elevation Room. So if you're not a part of my school group, the Elevation Room, the link will be in the chat shortly. Make sure you click onto that, and myself or one of the team will make sure that you are put into that group tonight. And just because this is not a motivational call doesn't mean we're not going to have an affirmation. Of course, it wouldn't be Michelle's session without an affirmation, right? So this week's affirmation is, I show up clearly. I lead with confidence. My message lands. I'm going to say that again. I show up clearly. I lead with confidence. My message lands. Okay, so I want you to screenshot this. I want you to read this to yourself whenever you're doing your content. Okay, because this is what will really help. Remember to show up clearly. Remember that you are confident. You are a leader. Okay, and your message is important and it will always land with your avatar if you do it right. If you do it right. So for the last time this evening, I'm going to say confidence on, doubt off. And I think I've got a song here now, haven't I? I rise to my rhythm, I rise to my life. And so the last thing I have to say tonight is really thank you. Thank you so much for the birthday cakes. Thank you so much for being here and listening to me talk about hooks. Social media is something that is very confusing for a lot of us. As soon as we get it, things change around. So it's something that we have to keep on top of all the time. I do have the link that's going to be dropped in here in just a second. Okay, now let me know your biggest takeaways in the school group. Okay, and don't forget, I have the link, team. If you could drop the link in the chat, I've sent it to you. If you could drop the link in the chat, please. And there it is. There it is. That is the viral hooks link right there. So make sure you put that in there and you will receive that. You'll be able to download all 7 of those viral hooks. Okay, make sure you are following me on Instagram. And of course, school. And if you are on the recording on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would like to join us live next Sunday, just check below in the description, and the link for the school group will be in there. Okay, so make sure you join next week, 7 p.m. UK time. And of course, you can invite anyone to this call that needs a push at the start of the week.